They say Sleepy Hollow Road, just outside Louisville, Kentucky, is cursed. Locals have a simple rule: never drive it after midnight. And it's not because of the sharp turns or the crumbling asphalt, but because of what's waiting between them. I grew up hearing the stories. We all did. The phantom headlights that appear in your rearview mirror, only to vanish when you pull over. The chilling screams that echo from the creek bed. And, of course, the woman in white who appears when you dare to whisper her name. Honestly, I never believed a word of it. It was just campfire talk, something to scare the tourists. That is, until the night I went looking for her myself. It was late October, just a few days before Halloween. The air was cold, and a fog, thick as smoke, had rolled in, swallowing the landscape. The road looked like a black ribbon cutting through a sea of grey mist. There are no streetlights out there, no houses, no signs of life. The only sound was the crunch of gravel and dead leaves under my tires. It was the kind of quiet that feels heavy, like it's pressing in on you. I was maybe a mile in when my radio cut out. 1 second, it was playing some old rock song. The next, just static. But it wasn't normal static. It was layered. Beneath the harsh hiss, there were soft whispers, like someone was trying to speak just under the noise. I couldn't make out any words, but the cadence was there. It was unnerving. I slowed the car down, peering into the dense fog. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. That's when something moved in the mist ahead. It was small, and it darted quickly across the road. My first thought was a deer. It's common out there. But when my headlights finally caught it, it wasn't a deer. It was a woman. She was barefoot, standing right in the middle of my lane. Her dress was soaked, clinging to her thin frame, and her hair was plastered to her face. She was just staring straight at me through the windshield with these wide, empty eyes. I slammed on the brakes. The car screeched, skidding sideways on the wet pavement, the smell of burnt rubber filling the air. My heart felt like it was trying to beat its way out of my chest. When the car finally stopped, I looked up. She was gone, vanished. The road was empty again. But there, on the windshield, where the fog had condensed on the glass, a message was traced out in the dew, as if by a finger. 2 words: turn back. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip my phone. As you can probably guess, no service. Not a single bar. I tried to calm myself down. It's the fog, I told myself. It plays tricks on your eyes. I tried to start the car, but the engine just sputtered. It wouldn't turn over. Then, just as suddenly as it died, it roared back to life, the engine revving high. It felt less like the car was working again, and more like it didn't want to stay still. Like it was scared, too. So, I did what any sensible person would do. I ignored the ghostly warning and kept driving, deeper into the hollow. That's when I saw them. In my rearview mirror, 2 pale round orbs of light appeared out of the fog. Headlights. They were following me, staying just far enough back to be unsettling. They mirrored my every move. When I sped up, they sped up. When I slowed for a turn, they slowed. I decided to call their bluff. I pulled over to the side of the road, letting the engine idle, and waited for them to pass. But they didn't. The lights just disappeared. 1 second they were there, burning into my mirror, and the next they were gone. I rolled down my window. There was no sound of an engine driving away. No sound at all, except for the dripping of water from the trees, and a smell. The smell of wet earth, of decaying leaves, and something faintly, sickly sweet, like flowers left too long in a vase. Up ahead I could see the road dipping down toward a small bridge over Sleepy Hollow Creek. This is the heart of the legend. They say a carriage overturned here a century ago. A young bride, on her way to her wedding, was thrown into the water and drowned. Her groom, they say, survived and simply ran, leaving her to die. Ever since, people claim to see her ghost, eternally searching the roadside, waiting for the man who abandoned her. I told myself it was just a story, a local legend to explain a tragic accident. But then the radio flickered on again, all by itself. The static returned, louder this time, and through the crackle and hiss, a woman's voice whispered, clear as day, "Help me." A wave of cold washed through the car. It got so cold, so fast, that my breath fogged up in front of my face. My headlights, which had been cutting through the fog, suddenly dimmed to a faint, useless glow. And there, standing in the middle of the road, right before the bridge, she appeared again. The bride. She was just as the legend described, dressed in a tattered white gown, a veil trailing behind her in the non-existent wind. She stood ankle-deep in a puddle on the road, water dripping from the hem of her dress. But this time, I could see her face clearly. Her eyes were black pits, and her mouth was stretched into a smile that was far too wide for her face. A grotesque, unnatural grin. And then she started walking toward me. Slowly at first, then picking up the pace. A calm, deliberate stride. I fumbled with the gear shift, throwing the car into reverse. The tires spun on the wet asphalt, screaming in protest, before finally catching. I slammed my foot on the gas, the car lurching backward, but she kept coming. She was getting faster now. Every time I blinked, she was closer. 10 feet, 5 feet, right outside my driver's side window. Her face was pressed against the glass, that horrifying smile never wavering. And then she screamed. It wasn't a human sound. It was high and metallic, a shriek that vibrated through the metal of the car and into my bones. The windshield spiderwebbed and then shattered, glass flying everywhere. The world went white, and the sound was deafening. The next thing I remember is waking up. It was morning. The sun was up. The fog had burned away, and birds were singing. My car was parked neatly at the entrance to Sleepy Hollow Road, right where it meets the main highway. The engine was off. The keys were still in the ignition. The windshield was perfectly intact. I thought I had dreamed it all. A nightmare brought on by too many ghost stories and a dark, foggy road. But then I got out of the car, and I saw them. On the hood, still damp from the morning dew, were footprints. A trail of small, muddy footprints. Bare feet. Later that day, I pulled the footage from my dashcam. I had to know. The camera recorded everything perfectly. The dark road, the fog, the radio cutting out. It even caught the moment I slammed on the brakes. But the exact moment she should have appeared on screen. The footage turns to black, just pure digital darkness. For the entire rest of the event, all of it gone, except for one single, solitary frame. It's right at the end, just before the file corrupts. In the reflection in my rear-view mirror, her face, smiling from my back seat. I haven't driven down that road since, and I never will again. Some stories, you learn, are told for a reason. They're not just stories, they're warnings. Thanks for listening. And if you have your own local legends you want me to explore, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into the unknown. Stay safe out there.